Henry II, the reforming king who transformed England. In the history of England during the 12th century, there was one ruler whose reign left a profound mark on the country. This towering figure was a visionary and energetic monarch who transformed the structure and governance of the nation. His rule was marked by political dynamism and an unwavering determination to strengthen royal power. In addition to his strategic skills, he was noted for his drive for legal reform and the promotion of culture and the arts. Although his legacy has been the subject of debate, there is no denying the lasting influence he had on the history of England and the development of the monarchy. Origins. Henry II Plantagenet, also called Henry II of England, was born on March 5, 1133. He was the firstborn son of Godfrey V of Anjou and his wife Queen Matilda. He had two younger brothers, Godfrey VI of Anjou and William of Poitiers. Throughout his childhood, he had several tutors from whom he learned Latin and French, such as Piet of Santé, a noted medieval grammarian, Master Matthew, and several priests of St. Augustine from Bristol. His first defeat. Although it is unusual for children to lead military raids, Henry II led his first military raid in the year 1147 without his parents' authorization, when he was 14 years old, commanding an army of mercenaries with whom he attacked the county of Wiltshire with the intention of overthrowing King Stephen. However, his plans would be frustrated due to lack of funds, which prevented him from both advancing and returning to Normandy. Faced with this situation, King Stephen decided to show magnanimity to the young rebel prince and decided to pay the mercenaries and allow him to leave his lands with a bruised ego, having failed in his ambitions. The return of Louis VII of France. After that unsuccessful raid, the victory of the War of Anarchy seemed to have finally gone to Stephen's side. However, the return of King Louis VII of France from the Second Crusade in 1149 provoked a new increase in hostilities within both England and France. Louis VII's enemies to destroy were Godfrey V and Henry II, who had acquired too much power while the French king was absent. One of the first tactics of the French king was to legitimise Eustace, the son of King Stephen, as Duke of Normandy, ignoring the right of Henry II in order to rekindle the English succession conflict. Nevertheless, Godfrey V decided to appeal to diplomacy on this occasion and advised his son to reach a peace agreement with Louis, which was signed in August 1151. This agreement established that Louis recognised him as Duke of Normandy in exchange for Henry accepting King Louis as his liege lord and paying him homage, and granting him the disputed lands of the Norman Vexin. The Stolen Queen. There are many ways to take revenge. Taking a wife or a mistress from a king is one of them. After Louis VII returned to France, his relationship with his wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine, had deteriorated. Although Eleanor was considered a beautiful, cultured and intelligent woman, besides being a rich noblewoman in her own right, the fact that she had not given children to the king made him decide to repudiate her and dissolve their marriage. Faced with this situation, the young Henry II decided to court the former French queen and marry her, gaining access to her fortune and humiliating the French king at the same time. This situation caused a resentful Louis VII to disinherit his two daughters, so that on the death of Eleanor they could not inherit their mother's lands. The betrayal of Godfrey VI. Henry II's trick not only angered Louis VII, but also made the French king strengthen his alliances. After the death of Godfrey V on September 7, 1151, Louis VII reinforced his alliance with Stephen and Eustace, and incorporated into his alliance Godfrey VI, the younger brother of Henry II, who was dissatisfied with the distribution of his father's inheritance, and believed that his brother had taken away his control of the castles of Poitiers. This situation led to the allies of Louis VII, Henry of Champagne and Robert de Perche. Robert captured the city of Neuf-Marche-sur-Epte, while Louis VII attacked Aquitania and Stephen laid siege to Henry's Wallingford castle, located in the valley of the Thames, taking advantage of the fact that Henry was fighting against his enemies in France. This triple attack had all the advantages, but Henry was not going to give up easily. Henry II's counterattack. Henry II had become a better military strategist over the years. He decided to plunder the Vexin lands of Louis VII, organised the defences of the Norman borders and captured the castle of Monstereau, which belonged to his brother Godfrey. After falling ill, Louis VII was forced to withdraw from the campaign, leaving Godfrey VI and his allies without sufficient forces to face Henry II, which forced Godfrey VI to reach a peace agreement with his brother. In 1153, Henry landed in England with a small group of mercenaries and joined forces with Ranulph of Chester and Hugh Bigod to undertake the siege of King Stephen's Wiltshire castle, which forced the king to withdraw part of his forces from the siege of Wallingford to defend his territory from Henry II. Henry II subsequently formed an alliance with Robert II de Beaumont, Earl of Leicester, in exchange for land and titles. This alliance allowed him to form an army large enough to make the besiegers of Wallingford escape, something that worked, but very briefly, as the following summer, Stephen returned to attack Wallingford Castle with a larger army. The end of the War of Anarchy. Faced with this situation, Henry marched on Wallingford in July of that year. Faced with the threat of a great pitched battle, the barons of both sides summoned the clergy to reach an agreement to end the war. The situation was delicate. After almost 2 decades of war, the allies of both Henry and Stephen were on the verge of eliminating both contenders just to put an end to so much bloodshed. This led to both Henry and Stephen to decide to reach a peace agreement, but the negotiation failed. Shortly thereafter, Stephen's firstborn son Eustace died of some unknown disease. This left Stephen without a suitable successor, since his second son, William of Blois, did not have enough leadership capacity to face Henry II. After several battles with no clear winner, the two sides finally decided to negotiate a permanent peace agreement mediated by the clergy. This agreement, known as the Treaty of Wallingford, was signed in Winchester Cathedral and established that Henry II would be recognised as Stephen's adopted son and successor, in exchange for Stephen accepting his authority as king for as long as he lived. It also provided that William would renounce any future claim to the throne in exchange for keeping his lands in both France and England, and that Henry's army of mercenaries would be disarmed and sent home. Henry and King Stephen sealed the treaty with a kiss of peace in the cathedral. Shortly thereafter, Henry left for Normandy, fearful that William of Blois would take advantage of the peace to try to assassinate him. Subsequently, Stephen fell ill and died of dysentery on October 25, 1154, allowing Henry to be crowned, along with Queen Eleanor, at Westminster on December 19th of that year. There are many things that can be said about Henry II of England. As a young man, he was reckless, ambitious, and vindictive, capable of leaving great devastation and death in his wake to achieve his goals. However, as he matured, he became a good strategist in choosing his alliances and the battlefields on which to fight. He did not become wiser nor more peaceful, but at least he tried to do things better than Stephen and make great innovations during his rule. We hope you enjoyed this video about the War of Anarchy and that you will join us in the next stories on our channel. Don't close the video yet. Before you go, please subscribe to our channel and leave us a like if you like the content. It will help us grow and keep making much more content. Now, without further ado, we say goodbye.